Hey, it's Tony here from Life, Love and Lettuce. I thought you might like that promised tour through the hoop house. Let's go take a look and see what's happening. So I promised you a tour of the hoop house, and just to orientate you again, here we are standing in the northernmost side of our garden, looking south down the back. So coming across the garden here past the apple tree, which has still got its leaves even though we are in autumn officially, and we've still got a few apples on the top. And here we are at our lovely hoop house, which is positioned so that it will get all of the winter sun that it needs. And at the moment the apple tree is keeping some of the heat out. And as we come around here and I show you, the wall of the house actually keeps some of the other heat of the summer away. And as the sun comes low in winter, it's going to come and shine right across and through here, and we will have the plastic door pulled across instead of the mesh door that we've got at the moment, and we should get some really good sun in here in winter. But as you can see, it's somewhat Triffid-like since we were here last, which was probably about a month ago. And really this is the amazing growth that the tomatoes have put on in the last month, and we have been harvesting them frantically. I've got more tomatoes than I know what to do with, and we do have a nice temperate climate here in Auckland, but I'm just finding that the tomatoes are just amazing in the greenhouse, and they're coming along really, really well, and I'm really pleased with them. We've also got some beans that have been doing really well. I've just recently picked. You're going to get the garden warts and all here. There's a little not brilliant looking bean there, but I'm not trying to win any Instagram prizes at the moment. I'm just showing you how it is gardening in a small space in your backyard. And so we've got some volunteer plants that have come back up through here again. It's still a little bit early for kale, but it's decided that it wants to grow here, so who's to argue with nature is my attitude. And obviously the lovely little violas that come through in all of my homegrown compost. Really enjoying them. They're really great in salads. They just add a lift and a little bit of colour. And coming right along down here, we've got more tomatoes that are coming. And, they really, really are just absolutely Triffid-like. And I've been running an experiment trying to grow some very old tomatoes that my son had. They were really old seeds and they were teeny tiny tomatoes, and they are coming along. So we got a few of the seeds to germinate, which we were really surprised about. And we've just got them in these little hanging baskets, which are self-watering, but you can probably see by the colour of the basil in here as well, and some of the tomatoes that we're having to generously feed them. And I've been away for a week, so they've missed out on a little bit of generous liquid feeding here, so they need to catch up. But it's amazing what you can grow in the tiniest of spaces if you try, and these flowers are just coming along brilliantly. These plants, they just want to grow, they're just making a break for it through the vent of the hoop house here. And you can see that we've got some space saver cucumbers on this side, another experiment in the same hanging basket arrangement, and they're not doing so well, but we've had about 3 or 4 cucumbers off them, so I know that next year or later on when these are finished, not to try and put quite so many in the pot and just see what we can try and grow. Everything's held up with these wonderful tomato clips. It's the first year I've used them, and oh my god, what a difference. I love them. You just hang a string up and then clip it, and then clip the tomatoes through, or whatever you're growing, through the little clip. Everything gets space to grow that it needs, and they just work wonderfully. They're just keeping the tomatoes and these climbing beans reasonably tidy as they grow up the side of the hoop house. So I'm really thrilled with what they're doing. We've got some very well picked lettuce going on down in the corner here. Every night I dash out here just as it's going dark and pick what I can, and some of them are bolting, so they're getting a little bit bitter, but these have been really, really sweet lettuce anyway. So I'm not even concerned that they're bolting. We're still eating them and enjoying them. Got a little tub of worm wee in here that we sort of dilute down and pour on things, going really well. A volunteer silver beet up the back there that's just coming along beautifully, and we're about to start harvesting. And just under here we have got a few little greens coming along. They're Chinese greens and they're doing well. A few dead leaves from the beans here, but these are just cut and come again, and they go amazingly well, and they're wonderful in stir fries and salads and just great stuff. A little basil you'll find poking out all over the place. So what else have we got down here? We've got some nasturtiums. I can't remember whether I planted them or whether they just came up in the mulch that I've got from the compost. We've got a few basil down here that are being chewed on as well. If you're reading anything about my herb series on the website at the moment, you'll know that these really need to be pinched out here now to make them grow. So we just take the top out here. You can't see there's a nasturtium leaf in the way, so we've got the basil crown here that's growing. So if we just take that out here, then that plant will start sprouting again at these two leaves and get bushy, and then we'll have this for our salad. We don't mind that there's a few chewed bits in there. We don't mind sharing with the odd snail, as much as I don't like too many of them around. And so we've got more tomatoes doing their thing. These tomatoes were just volunteers. So they grew in the compost. My shadow's on them, but hopefully you can see. It's very hard for me to see what I'm filming with the sun behind me. You'll probably see the ants running around in here too. But these are amazing, amazing tomatoes. These are beefsteak, I think, that my father-in-law gave me, and I've saved him some seed of them. And they're just going for it. They're like trees in here. So I don't quite know how I'm going to deal with them. I've tried valiantly to keep their laterals off them, but they just, I think they grow overnight when I'm not in here. Well, obviously they do grow overnight, but when I'm not in here, I come in the next day and there's just like a, more tomato jungle to be dealt with. So these get cut away so that there's some air circulation. You can see back there's a few dead leaves, and that will be because the condensation forms on the plastic and it drops down on the plants, and they don't like it now that some of these cold nights are starting to come. So that's what's happening there. And then we've got some toilet roll seedlings happening, just getting ready to plant out in the gardens outside. So I thought I would try toilet roll seedlings this year. I got my corn to grow really well in those. Unfortunately, the corn didn't do brilliantly, but the seedlings certainly came away well. And you can see that I think they've been there about 4 days, and in the lovely warm temperatures in here and protection from the too much cold at night, they are all just coming away really well. I can see the daikon is going for it in the background there. And I've got beetroot and cabbage, and I can see some beetroot starting. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to actually get some beetroot to grow really well for me. There's a bit too much nitrogen in my soil, I've been told, so I've got to try and put the beetroot in places where the nitrogen hopefully will have been stripped, so I might have more of a chance of getting some nice roots instead of just leaves. So more tomatoes doing their thing down here. I've got some rocket that's gone or going to seed. I've got a little passion fruit plant back there in that green container that came through the fence from the neighbours, and it's taken, so I'm going to be popping that outside. Really pleased that that's taken. I've had so much trouble with passion fruit here, but we shall see how that goes. So we're coming back out through the tomatoes. Down here I've got some lovely little peppers that are growing. Here's a beautiful little sweet one down here. I'll put the variety on the video because I can never remember those things off the top of my head. And we've got some eggplants down here, but I haven't actually seen any fruit off them. So whether that is because they are buried here in the undergrowth under the tomatoes, but I've certainly seen lots of lovely flowers and they're looking healthy. So maybe when some of these tomatoes get removed, I might get some more eggplants. You can possibly just see some flowers in the background over there. And we have got some carrots here, half a bed of carrots that still have to come out, so it's just about time to pull those, get the next lot in. Normally the girls are parked under the apple tree on the other side of the plastic, but they're not there today. It's not quite so hot, even though it's warm in here. Then we're coming around here, and I have got some lovely red cabbage that are coming along really nicely. I love red cabbage, and I have never grown them before, so I'm quite thrilled with how these ones are coming along. And I am stealing the odd big outer leaf like this and cutting it up and throwing it in salads. So even if I don't eventually get a whole head of cabbage, at least I'm having bits of them at the moment. Then we've got some more little violets going over there, and you'll see a few very hot peppers in there which just self-sowed themselves from last year, and they just seem to leave it like it. That's a little trough in there that I haven't quite gotten out of here yet. Lots of grass coming up which shouldn't be there, but hey, we just pull that out. And we've got some more lovely basil coming down here. So here's a good example of what I was saying to you about. You can see that I have clipped the center out of this basil, and then you can see how it's growing its little leaves out the side again. If I hadn't have clipped that, it would just have grown as one great big tall piece. There's another one next to it too that's doing the same thing. You can just see where it's starting to grow these new leaves here. So really important, especially when you're growing herbs, to make sure that you do clip out the center of them here, and you will get a lot more herb, and you'll get a good strong little bushy plant growing. There's a few more examples here with the red basil. So few beetroot leaves in here, not producing any roots, but plenty of leaves for me to pick for salads. More basil down the back there, some basil hiding in here. We've got a whole load of beans just growing en masse here. I think I put about 6 seeds in, and they've just gone crazy, growing beautifully just up a couple of strings here. We've had so many beans off this tiny little patch. They're just wonderful. And then we've got some cress growing down here, which is nice and peppery, lovely in salads. And that's probably about it, really. So it's a lovely little spot. I do enjoy it. I love coming out here in the evenings when it's cool. I'm actually quite looking forward to when the tomatoes are finished, even though I'm really loving the amount that we're getting off them and the fact that we've got a freezer full at the moment. But it will be nice when I can actually walk down my little pathway again without having to watch out for being mugged by tomato plants. But I can't complain because we've just had such abundance out of here, and I know that we'll continue to have amazing abundance out of here over the months to come. So there you go. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.